I used to think I need to sit at a desk to study English. But then I got feedback at work that my listening needed improvement. I felt so anxious. I tried waking up early to study, but I was just too exhausted to focus. So I asked myself, what if I could improve my English while doing something I already do every day? That's when I started listening to English while I cook. While I chop the onions, I listen to a podcast in English.
Maya receives critical feedback at work about her English listening. Maya has one urgent goal: improve her English listening and speaking despite a busy schedule. But Maya receives feedback at work that her English listening needs improvement, and she realizes her schedule is too packed for traditional study. Opening state of a smartphone with a podcast app.
I know it sounds strange, but it's like learning with my ears. I don't even realize I'm studying. Tonight, I'm going to try it with a podcast while I make dinner. I'll see if I can catch a few new words.
Maya receives critical feedback at work about her English listening. Maya has one urgent goal: improve her English listening and speaking despite a busy schedule. But Maya receives feedback at work that her English listening needs improvement, and she realizes her schedule is too packed for traditional study. The useful wording here is, I listen to English while I cook.
The feedback stung, but I'm determined to turn this around. I can't afford to fail again. Tonight, I'll start listening to that podcast while I cook. Even if I only catch a few words, it's better than nothing. I have to try something different.
That's the spirit. But remember, you tried waking up early and it backfired. So what's different this time? You're not forcing extra hours. You're using time you already have. That's key.
You're right. I used to think I had to sit at a desk for hours. But now I see it's about consistency, not time. And if I catch even a few words, I'll consider it a win.
I tried waking up at 5 a.m. to study, but by the third day I was so exhausted I couldn't focus. I'd stare at the page, reading the same sentence over and over. My brain just wouldn't cooperate. And the worst part? I still couldn't understand my colleagues in meetings. I felt like I was failing twice, so I gave up on early mornings. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed to improve my listening. That's when I thought about cooking dinner. I'm already in the kitchen every night. Why not use that time? And here's a useful phrase: catch more words. It means to understand more spoken words. For example, after 2 weeks of listening while cooking, I started to catch more words in conversations. Try it tonight. While you cook, listen for 3 new words you can catch.
I set my alarm for 5 a.m., determined to study before work. But by the third day, I was so exhausted I couldn't focus. I'd stare at the page, reading the same sentence over and over. My brain just wouldn't cooperate. And the worst part? I still couldn't understand my colleagues in meetings. I felt like I was failing twice.
I hear you. Waking up early just added stress, and you still didn't improve. But what if you didn't need extra time at all? That's a perfect chance to listen to English podcasts. No desk, no alarm clock, just you, the kitchen, and the language.
So I tried it. That evening, while I chopped onions, I played a podcast. In a meeting, my boss said, "We need to pivot," and I understood change direction. I didn't just hear sounds. I caught the meaning. And here's a pronunciation tip. When we say, "while I chop the onions," we link the words "while I chop the onions." It sounds like one smooth phrase. Try saying it with me. While I chop the onions, I listen to a podcast.
You're proving that passive listening really works. I challenge you to cook a new recipe using only English audio instructions, no video, no text, just your ears and the stove. If you can pull that off, you'll know your listening has leveled up for real.
I gave up after 3 days. I was exhausted, and the early mornings just weren't working. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed to improve my listening. So I decided to try something different, something that fit into my evening routine. That's when I thought about cooking dinner. I'm already in the kitchen every night. Why not use that time?
That's smart. You don't need extra hours. You need to use the time you already have. Think about it. You cook dinner every night. Why not listen to an English podcast while you chop? It's like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And here's a phrase you can use. I've integrated English listening practice into my daily routine by using cooking time for passive exposure. That sounds professional, right?
So I tried it. That evening, while I was chopping onions, I accidentally left a podcast playing. And you know what? I realized I could follow it. I wasn't even trying hard. I was just cooking, and the words were sinking in. It felt like my brain was learning without me. So I decided to try listening intentionally the next day. And here's a useful skill. Figure out from context. It means to understand the meaning without a dictionary. For example, if you hear add a pinch of salt, you know it's about cooking. Next time you hear an unfamiliar word, use the situation to guess.
Perfect. Keep doing this every evening. In 2 weeks, you'll notice you catch more words in meetings. Trust the process. Now, let's make it a challenge. Try to cook a new recipe using only English audio instructions.
I couldn't believe it. I was just chopping onions, and the podcast was playing in the background. That's when I decided I'll listen every evening while I cook. It's not extra time. It's just my dinner time.
That's great. Now, here's a key skill. When you don't know a word, don't stop. Try to figure it out from context. For example, if you hear add a pinch of salt, you know it's about cooking. So I couldn't look it up, but I figured it out from context. Let's practice that. Figure out from context means to understand the meaning without a dictionary. Say it with me. Figure out from context. Good. Now, next time you hear an unfamiliar word, use the situation to guess.
So I tried it the next evening. I was making pasta, and the podcast mentioned simmer. I didn't know it, but I heard let it simmer for 10 minutes. I guessed it meant cook slowly. And I was right. I felt so proud. This is actually fun. And that's a useful phrase. Simmer means to cook gently just below boiling.
See, you're learning without even studying. That's why I want to challenge you. Cook a new recipe using only English audio instructions. This will test if you can follow real spoken English when it matters. Are you ready to try?
So that's passive exposure. You don't need to focus on every word, but your brain is still absorbing the sounds and patterns. Last night, I listened to a cooking podcast while making soup, and I caught phrases like, add a pinch of salt, without trying. What does passive exposure mean? Say it in your own words before I do.
That's exactly it. Now, do this every evening, but don't just listen passively. Each time, try to catch one new phrase like simmer the sauce or dice the garlic and repeat it out loud. It's a small step, but it'll build your active vocabulary while you cook. Ready to start tonight?
Tonight, I'm making a stir-fry, and I'll play an English food podcast. But I'm a little nervous. What if I don't understand anything? I'll just keep going and focus on the words I do know. That's the plan. Let's see if I can catch one new phrase.
The goal is to understand the main idea. If you hear, add the vegetables, and you're holding a carrot, you know what to do. That's using context. So tonight, when you're cooking, try to infer meanings from what you see and hear. You'll be surprised.
I'm making it a habit. Every evening, I cook and listen to an English podcast. It's not extra study time, it's just my dinner routine. The best part? It takes 0 extra time out of my day. I used to think I needed to sit at a desk, but now I'm learning while I chop onions. That's the secret. Integrate English into what you already do. And here's a useful chunk. 0 extra time. It means no additional time needed.
So you're not just cooking dinner, you're training your ears. But here's a question: what if you don't understand a lot? Do you stop and replay, or just let it flow? I've found that letting it flow builds your ear for the rhythm. You'll catch more words each week. Try it tonight and see if you notice the difference.
I found a podcast about food history, and while I chop the onions, I'll listen carefully. My goal is to catch at least one new word and figure out its meaning from context. Even if I miss some parts, I won't stop. It feels like a fun challenge, not a boring study session. I'm actually looking forward to cooking now because it's my special English practice time.
I love that game mentality. And you know what? You're building a new daily routine. Daily routine means something you do every day without thinking. Soon it'll feel weird not to have English playing. That's when you know it's working.
I've been doing this for a week now. Every evening while I chop onions or stir the pot, I have my podcast on. And you know what? During our team meeting today, I caught more words than before. It's like my ears are waking up. Catch more words means I understood more spoken words without trying so hard. For example, I used to miss deadline and budget, but today they were clear. Try it tonight. Listen for just 3 new words while you cook.
See, you're not just cooking dinner, you're training your ears. And that's the key. It's not extra time. It's using time you already have. Maybe try shadowing a few phrases while you stir. Shadow the phrases means you repeat what you hear right after the speaker. Like an echo. For example, if the podcast says, add the onions, you say add the onions out loud. It feels silly at first, but it really helps your pronunciation. Give it a shot tonight.
Shadowing? You mean I repeat what I hear? Tonight I'll try it with my pasta podcast. I'll say simmer for 10 minutes right after the speaker. So the full phrase is simmer for 10 minutes. Notice how for gets reduced for. I'll practice that while I stir.
That's the spirit. You're committing to listening every evening while you cook, and that's exactly how you'll improve. It's not about finding extra time. It's about using the time you already have. And here's a useful chunk: 0 extra time. It means no additional time needed. For example, the best part is it takes 0 extra time out of my day. So tonight, when you're cooking, remember, you're not just making dinner, you're training your ears with 0 extra time.
And guess what? By the second day, my mouth started to remember the rhythm. It's like my tongue is learning without me thinking too hard. That's the power of shadowing. You train your mouth to move naturally. Notice how for gets reduced to fur. Now, while you cook tonight, pick one phrase from your podcast and shadow it out loud.
You're not just hearing the words, you're training your mouth to move like a native speaker. And the best part? You're doing it while making dinner. Just you and your podcast. It really boosted my confidence.
She starts to notice she understands more over the first week. Leo suggests she try shadowing phrases while cooking. It works better because it implies that only formal study counts, ignoring the power of consistent exposure. Use "I listen to English while I cook" with a calm, clear tone. For example, "I listen to English while I cook." Say it again without overstressing every word.
Since you've been shadowing phrases, let's take it up a notch. I'll send you a recipe in English, and you'll cook it while repeating the instructions out loud. This way, you're listening, speaking, and cooking all at once. It's a real-life test of your skills. Are you ready to give it a try?
Okay, so instead of just listening, let's try shadowing. That means repeating the phrase right after you hear it. While I chop these carrots, I'll say, "Chop the carrots." See, it's easy. Now you try, "Chop the carrots." Notice how chop the links together? This is a great way to train your mouth to move with the sounds. You're not just hearing English, you're producing it. And you can do it with any action in the kitchen.
I actually said it. It's like my mouth is waking up. I'm not just hearing the words. I'm part of the conversation. And you know what? I can feel the rhythm now. It's not just about the words. It's about how they flow together. This is kind of fun. I never thought I'd be talking to myself while cooking, but it actually helps.
Now, when you want to say it more formally, you can say, "I've started listening to English podcasts during my daily cooking routine." That's a great line for your work review. It shows you're proactive. Let's break it down. "I've started" is a present perfect, which connects past action to now. And "during my daily cooking routine" emphasizes that it's a habit. Try it with me. "I've started listening to English podcasts during my daily cooking routine." Good. Use this when you want to sound professional.
I've started listening to English podcasts during my daily cooking routine. That sounds so professional. I'll use that in my next meeting. Thanks, Maya. This is better than sitting at a desk. I'm actually cooking dinner and learning at the same time. And the best part? It doesn't feel like studying. I'm just doing what I normally do, but with English in the background. It's like my brain is soaking it up without me even trying.
Great, you did it. Now let's try a longer sentence. This one is useful when someone asks about your study method. "I've integrated English listening practice into my daily routine by using cooking time for passive exposure." It might sound fast because of the connected speech. Notice how integrated links to English and listening blends with practice. I'll say it again slowly. "I've integrated English listening practice into my daily routine by using cooking time for passive exposure." Now you try to shadow it right after me. Ready?
Maya struggles to understand a fast-paced podcast episode. The next sentence needs to do one job clearly. A usable version is, "I've started listening to English podcasts during my daily cooking routine." Here is the practice line. "While I chop the onions, I listen to a podcast in English." Repeat it once slowly. Then say the example naturally. "While I chop the onions, I listen to a podcast in English to practice my listening."
When you listen to fast English, focus on the stressed words. The function words like "I've," "to," "during," and "my" are reduced. So even if you miss some small words, you can still understand the main idea. Let's practice. Listen for the stressed words and repeat the sentence with the same rhythm.
"While I chop the onions." That's better. I can hear the key words. I feel like I'm catching more words now. Maybe I can try this with a fast podcast tonight. Thanks, Maya.
That's exactly why I call it learning with my ears. When I listen while cooking, I don't even realize I'm learning. It's not like studying at a desk. I'm just hearing the rhythm and the flow. That's how it becomes natural. Try to notice the intonation, not just the words. You'll catch more words without trying. So tonight, while you chop vegetables, just let the podcast play. Don't rewind. See what sticks. For example, if you hear simmer for 10 minutes, you just need simmer and 10 minutes to know what to do.
But what if I miss important parts? That fast podcast was so quick, I felt lost. I don't want to practice wrong. Should I rewind every time? Or just let it go and keep listening?
Don't worry about missing a few words. That's normal. The goal isn't to catch everything. It's to get the main idea. Even if you miss parts, your brain is still learning the sounds. Just keep going. You'll improve over time. Think of it like this. When you hear, add the onions and cook until soft, you don't need every word, you just need onions and cook until soft. Your brain fills in the rest. Let the podcast run and just grab the key words.
So I don't need to understand every word? That's a relief. I'll try again tonight with a slower podcast. Maybe I'll get the main idea. Thanks, Maya. You're really helping me.
That fast podcast felt impossible, I know. But here's the thing, you don't need to catch every word. Your brain is still learning the rhythm and the sounds. Over time, you'll start to catch more words naturally. This method proved I don't need to sit at a desk to study. So tonight, just focus on grabbing the key words. Let the podcast run and trust your ears. A useful chunk here is catch more words. It means you understand more spoken words without trying to get everything. For example, after 2 weeks, I started to catch more words in meetings. Try it tonight. Pick out just 3 keywords from your podcast.
You're right. I'll try again, but maybe with a slower podcast. I just want to understand the main idea, not every detail. I'll keep my phone on the counter while I chop vegetables. If I miss something, I'll let it go and keep listening. Thanks, Maya. You're giving me hope.
See? That's the spirit. After 2 weeks, I started to catch more words in meetings. My manager even noticed. He said, "You're following along better now." I almost cried. It wasn't about extra study hours. It was about using the time I already had. You'll get there too.
Now the earlier behavior makes sense. While chopping vegetables, Maya accidentally leaves a podcast playing and realizes she can understand it without full concentration. The useful wording here is, I've started listening to English podcasts during my daily cooking routine. Complication state of a smartphone with a podcast app.
Yesterday in the team meeting, I caught nearly every word. My manager even said, "Good job following along." I didn't need extra study time, just my podcast while I cooked dinner. You're doing the same, so you'll get there too.
But honestly, I still struggle when speakers talk really fast. Even though I've been practicing, I sometimes miss words. For example, yesterday I was listening to a cooking podcast, and they said sauté so quickly I thought it was say. It's frustrating. How do you deal with that? Do you just let it go or keep replaying? I think I need to focus more on connected speech. Maybe I should try shadowing more often, like you did. I've started listening to English podcasts during my daily cooking routine, but fast speakers still trip me up. What's your secret?
That's normal. When someone talks fast, I focus on the key words, not every word. Listen for the nouns and verbs. The rest is just filler. Could you repeat that? If you catch the main idea, that's enough.
Now the earlier behavior makes sense. While chopping vegetables, Maya accidentally leaves a podcast playing and realizes she can understand it without full concentration. The useful wording here is, I've started listening to English podcasts during my daily cooking routine. Complication state of a smartphone with a podcast app.
I can't believe it. In today's stand-up, I actually understood everything without asking anyone to repeat. My colleague even asked if I'd taken a course. I said, no, just my podcast while I chop vegetables. That's the truth.
Now the earlier behavior makes sense. While chopping vegetables, Maya accidentally leaves a podcast playing and realizes I can understand it without full concentration. That discovery changes what happens next. I gains confidence and shares my progress with I
listen for clues and try to figure it out from context. Like yesterday, someone said, "We need to pivot." I didn't know that word, but I heard change direction later, so I figured it out. You can do that too. The useful phrase is figure it out from context. It means using the words around a new word to guess its meaning. For example, if you hear the soup was bland, so I added salt, you can figure out bland means not salty enough. Try it next time you're stuck.
I found a new recipe online, and we're going to cook it together, but here's the catch. We can only use the English audio instructions. This will really show if passive listening has paid off. I'm a bit nervous because the recipe has some tricky steps, like whisk until stiff peaks form. If we can pull this off, it'll be proof that we've truly improved. I've integrated English listening practice into my daily routine by using cooking time for passive exposure, and now it's time to see if it works under pressure.
A new recipe with only English audio? That sounds a little scary, but I'll try it. What are we making? I'm ready to test my listening skills in the kitchen. Let's do it.
Great. We're making a simple pasta dish. The recipe is all in English, and you can't look at the screen. This is a real test of your listening. But remember, you've been doing this every evening. Your ears are ready, and the best part? It takes zero extra time. You're just cooking dinner like always, but now you're learning too. Let's break that down. Zero extra time means no additional time needed. For example, the best part is it takes zero extra time out of my day. Try using that phrase when you describe your own routine. Now, let's get started. Press play and trust your ears.
Okay, I'm pressing play. First, heat the olive oil in a large pan. Got that. Add the onions and cook until soft. I can do that. But wait, what does until soft mean? Can you see it?
That's a great question. Until soft means the onions become translucent and bend easily. You can see it. So you're listening and understanding. That's progress. And you just used a key skill, asking for clarification when you don't understand. That's how you learn in real life.
I'm nervous, but I'll do it. Let's find the recipe. What's the dish? I hope I can follow it. I've never cooked from audio only, but I've been listening every day. That should help. Let's press play.
You're going to make a simple pasta sauce. The recipe is all in English, and you can only listen, no reading. Remember, it takes zero extra time because you're already cooking. That's the whole point. Zero extra time means you don't need to find extra hours in your day. For example, I improved my English with zero extra time by listening while cooking. Try saying that to yourself right now. Ready? Let's press play.
Okay, press play. In a large pan, heat the olive oil. That's easy. Add the chopped onions and cook until soft. I can do that. But what does soft mean? I need to see it. I'll just guess.
Don't guess. You can use context clues. Soft here means the onions become translucent and bend easily. You can see it. That's how you figure it out. Cook until soft. Now you know.
When I paused, I realized I'd been so worried about catching every word that I forgot to use my routine. I just added English to my daily routine, and that's it. It's not a separate task. It's part of cooking. So I took a breath and I replayed the step. And here's a useful phrase, daily routine. It means the things you do every day, like cooking dinner. For example, I can say, I just added English to my daily routine. Try saying that yourself. I just added English to my daily routine.
Exactly. And notice how you replayed the audio. That's a great listening skill. Don't be afraid to rewind. So what did the instructions say? So what's the next step? Here's a tip. When you hear an unfamiliar word, hit pause, replay, and use the context around it. Try that next time you're stuck.
But then it says, add the rice and stir for 2 minutes. I'm not sure about stir. Does that mean mix? I'll just mix it with a spoon. Let me try.
Good guess. But notice the audio says, stir for 2 minutes. That's a time phrase. So you need to keep mixing for 2 minutes. That's important. So now you're learning cooking and English at the same time. Keep going.
I start the recipe but get confused by a step. Keep the idea, but change the words for your real situation. It works better because it implies that only formal study counts, ignoring the power of consistent exposure. Transfer the same wording to a new detail. Start with boost my confidence. For example, this experiment really helped boost my confidence in English. Now make one true sentence of your own.
You've come a long way from that first morning when you tried to wake up at 5. The next instruction says, add the tomatoes and season with salt and pepper. Season means to add flavor. So you're combining cooking and English perfectly.
So season means to add flavor. That makes sense. I'll add the tomatoes and season them with salt and pepper. I'm actually doing it while I speak. This is amazing. I'm cooking and learning English at the same time. I never thought I could do this without extra time.
Maya starts the recipe, but gets confused by a step. The useful wording here is, I've started listening to English podcasts during my daily cooking routine. Complication state of a smartphone with a podcast app. She pauses, takes a breath, and replays the segment.
I've never heard that before. Maybe it means to mix gently? Let me listen again. I'll replay it. Okay, fold in the cheese. That must mean to combine it slowly without stirring too hard. I think I can do that. For example, I figured out fold in from the cooking steps. Try using it this week when you hear a new word.
You're using context clues, just like you do with podcasts. Now, what does the recipe say next? Then simmer for 10 minutes. Simmer means to cook slowly at a low temperature. You've got this.
I figured out that simmer means low heat from the context, so I turned down the stove. It worked. The dish is done, and I followed every step just by listening. I've integrated English listening practice into my daily routine by using cooking time for passive exposure.
Maya figures out the term from context and continues cooking. The useful wording here is, I've started listening to English podcasts during my daily cooking routine. Changed payoff state of a smartphone with a podcast app. Keep the idea, but change the words for your real situation.
I figured it out from context. Fold in means to mix gently, so I used a spatula and folded the cheese until it was just combined. The dish is done. It smells amazing. I can't believe I understood the whole recipe without any visual help. This is a huge win for my listening skills.
You did it, Maya. You figured out that tricky term just from the context of the recipe. That's a huge step. Now, to take it further, I want you to try a new instruction. While you're cooking tomorrow, describe each step out loud in English, as if you're teaching someone. This will force you to think on your feet and use the vocabulary you've absorbed.
Thanks, Leo. You know, I used to think I needed to sit at a desk to study English. But now I realize I can learn while doing everyday things. While I chop the onions, I listen to a podcast. It's like learning with my ears. And tonight, I proved I can follow a whole recipe just by listening. I don't need extra time, I just use my cooking time. And here's a pattern you can use. While I underscore dot. It helps you describe two actions at the same time. For example, while I fold in the cheese, I listen to the next instruction. Try making your own sentence with while I dot.
And the timer just went off. Let's taste it. You did it, Maya. You followed an entire recipe in English, and you didn't need extra study time. You just used your cooking time. I'm so proud of you. This is proof that small habits can make a big difference.
I successfully completes the dish. The scene itself is simple. I figures out the term from context and continue cooking. It works better because it implies that only formal study counts, ignoring the power of consistent exposure.
You just used a great phrase. I've integrated English listening practice into my daily routine by using cooking time for passive exposure. That means you've made English a natural part of your day without extra effort. For example, you can say, while I cook, I get passive exposure to English. Try saying it yourself. I've integrated English listening practice into my daily routine.
Leo, I used to think I needed to sit at a desk for hours to improve. But now I realize I can learn English while cooking dinner. I didn't sacrifice any time, I just used the time I already had. My listening has improved so much, and I'm not stressed anymore. This is a game changer.
That's the key insight. You don't need extra time. You just need to turn your routine into a learning opportunity. Maybe try a podcast without subtitles, or shadow the phrases while you cook. The possibilities are endless. I'm excited to see you keep growing.
It's ready. Let's taste it. I can't believe I cooked this while learning English. For the first time, I feel like I'm making real progress without adding any extra time to my day. It's a win-win.
This proves you don't need to sit at a desk to study. I don't need to sit at a desk to study means you can learn in any setting, even while cooking. For example, I listen to English while I cook, so I don't need to sit at a desk to study. Now you try saying it.
I never thought I'd say this, but I actually look forward to cooking now. It's my daily English time. And you know what? I'm going to recommend this method to my colleague who's also struggling. Maybe we can even start a cooking club.
And remember, the key is passive exposure, hearing English without actively studying. Like when you listen to a podcast while chopping onions. Your brain still absorbs the sounds. So keep that phone on the counter and let English become part of your routine. You've earned this progress.
And you know what? After 2 weeks, I started to catch more words in conversations. That means I understand more spoken words without stopping to think. For example, In our team meeting yesterday, I caught the phrase quarterly targets right away. Now you try. Say, I catch more words after I say it. Ready? I catch more words. Great.
You've come a long way. Last month you were stressed about your listening, and now you're catching phrases without even trying. It's all because you turned cooking time into learning time. Are you going to keep this habit going?
It's part of my routine now. Every evening, while I chop the onions, I listen to a podcast. It's like learning with my ears, and I don't need to sit at a desk to study. I'll even recommend this to my colleague Sarah, who's always complaining about not having time.
Small, consistent habits really do lead to big improvements. You've proven that you don't need extra time, just use what you already have. Now, let's enjoy this meal you made with your ears.
Leo, I've been shadowing the phrases from my podcasts while I cook. That means repeating them right after I hear them. It's tricky at first, but it helps my speaking rhythm. For example, when I hear simmer for 10 minutes, I say it out loud right away. It's like my mouth learns the music of English. You'll be surprised how natural it feels.
Change payoff state of a smartphone with a podcast app. Maya decides to continue the habit and recommends it to a colleague. Keep the idea, but change the words for your real situation.
I decide to continue the habit and recommend it to my colleague Sarah. She tried it last night while making pasta, and she already caught 3 new words. It's amazing how this small change can help anyone.
You figured out the meaning from context without a dictionary. When you heard fold in the cheese, you knew it meant mix gently because of the situation. That's a powerful skill. So, what advice would you give to someone who wants to try this?